SPA's Graham Colley joins us again, and today he talks about the recent changes to the government's FOFO reforms. Graham, lovely to see you again.
Thanks, Christine.
Graham, there's been a lot of discussion on the future of financial advice, or the FOFO reforms. Can you tell us exactly what are these reforms?
Well, FOFO was a range of measures brought in by the previous government to reform the financial services industry. Now, what that does is make sure that clients are well informed and that advisors are not conflicted in both the remuneration they get and the advice they give to the clients.
Graham, there's also been a lot of discussion about the new government watering down these reforms. So what exactly has been watered down?
Well, it depends what you call watering down. There are some measures that the new government's brought in. Firstly, it's the opt-in provision where clients were required every year to notify the advisor that they wanted good advice and they were willing to pay for that advice. That's been done away with. There was a thing called the best interest duty. Now, this came out of the Storm inquiry. It was a Queensland financial planning group where some things went awry with it. And with the best interest duty, there's a common law obligation of advisors to look in the best interest, that fiduciary interest they must have with their client. Now, what happened with the previous government is that they added a number of things to that to make sure that there was not only the common law duty, but also a statutory duty there. Now, on review of that, and we had our patron, Sir Anthony Mason, have a look at that. He's an ex-Chief Judge of the High Court, and what he said was that the common law duty was probably enough to ensure that people were acting in the best interests of other parties. Now, with the catch-all provision that was put in there by the previous government, the current government has decided to do away with that. So what it was saying was that you can't gild the lily on this, and that the original arrangement that was in place with a couple of minor changes there was certainly part of that. Another thing there was conflicted remuneration, and that was that if I give you some general advice or I give you other advice relating to your circumstances and I receive a commission for that, then that's regarded as being conflicted advice, because every time I sell that product I get some sort of commission payment for that. So that's been, I wouldn't say watered down, but it's certainly different to the original proposal.
So Graham, what are the implications from these changes, if any, on SMSF trustees?
Well, one of the things that came through not only the FOFO reforms but also the other superannuation reforms that came through, which are integrally linked, was that with the accountants there's a limited licensing arrangement involved, and so for self-managed superannuation fund trustees, what they can expect going forward is that they'll receive better and higher quality advice, I would hope, from professionals in the self-managed superannuation fund area. Now, that not only includes financial planners, because they're now moving forward to get taxation advice linked in, so some licensing arrangements there. There was the registration of auditors, SMSF auditors, and also the requirement that accountants receive a limited licensing arrangement in place. So they're the main impacts that come out of it. They're not directly from the FOFO reforms, but they're from the superannuation reforms that get linked in with FOFO.
So if trustees or individual investors are seeking advice, what sort of questions should they ask their advisors to make sure that these advisors actually comply with the new reforms?
Well, I think you need to look at the advice you've been given, or the advice that will be given to you, the fees that you will pay for that. Make sure they're open and disclosed to you. Talk to other people that have used that advisor, because word of mouth is very helpful for those. And also have a look around on the websites and see what some of the independent opinions are on that. ASIC's got a good website about financial planners, licensing, and what they should expect from a financial planner.
Finally, Graham, the Financial Systems Inquiry is set to release its preliminary results in mid-July. Does SPA have any expectations?
But no, we're certainly not privy to what's being announced. We've had a number of discussions with the committee and particularly David Murray about what we would like out of the inquiry. What we want to see is the development of a long-term investment market in Australia. It appears that if it's not broken, let's not fix it. There appears with the committee that there'll be some comments with self-managed superannuation funds in particular on limited recourse borrowing arrangements and those sorts of things. But what we want to see is the development of a market which allows longer term types investments, so when you move into the pension phase of superannuation you'll have greater security there. Because with self-managed superannuation funds, what we've seen from some of the surveys is that going forward the drawdown market, or the pension side of superannuation, seems to be solely devoted to self-managed superannuation funds going forward.
Graham, thanks again for your insights.
Thanks very much, Christine.